Jose Esparza acquired, did I pronounce it correctly? Aguirre? Aguirre. Grew up in Jalisco, came to and spent a lot of his time outdoors, enjoying just playing outdoors like most people did, many of us did when we were younger. And he then moved to San Luis Obispo, found that while the outdoors was inviting, it wasn't as accessible as it was in his childhood, and ended up going to UCLA and majoring in biology and geography and environmental studies, and got hired recently by CNPS to be the community science coordinator. And if any of you looked at the flora before the last one, there was a big ad on the back page about this wonderful oak inventory that's taking place that we all need to get involved in, private lands as well as public lands. So I'm going to let Jose go from here. You've got a lapel mic. You have a lapel mic, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope that's working.
You might want to bring it a little closer here.
Okay. All right, there you go. Well, Virginia, thank you so much for the introduction. First of all, I'll start by saying that, you know, the last time that I had an in-person presentation like this was during the CNPS conference, and that was almost 2 years ago. So back in 2022. So it's really nice being out here and, you know, away from online presentations and being able to interact, you know, get to talk with a lot of you, and hopefully, you know, I'll get to meet more of you at the end of this too, but it's really refreshing. So I'm deeply appreciative of this opportunity to, you know, be here today and talk to you all about what I think is really important work. And aside from that, I think, you know, it's a really cool project. So, you know, hopefully we can get some of you all involved. And yeah, I guess, you know, I can get started. Let's see if this works. There we go. Okay. So we don't really need an introduction. You know, I was already introduced, but yeah, my name is Jose Esparza, and I'm the community science coordinator at CNPS. You know, I was born in Jalisco, grew up most of my life in the central coast of California, which is really nice. And then, you know, once I started college, graduated UCLA in 2019 with a degree in geography and environmental studies. And then, you know, before CNPS, I did work with public sensors, which was a, you know, it's an educational initiative that seeks to promote STEM learning through hands-on construction and use of environmental sensors. And aside from that, it's also, you know, utilizing it's utilizing crowdsourced data. So very similar to what I do now. And then in 2021, I got hired at CNPS. And that was really great because at CNPS now, I have the opportunity to essentially work with a lot of, you know, outreach opportunities, talk with a lot of great community members to sort of engage and activate people in community science that is, you know, community-centered and community-controlled. So, you know, what that means is that, you know, we're activating people to essentially focus on scientific research that's not just relevant to the scientific community, but also to our local community, which I think is very important. And, you know, I talk a lot about community science because that's essentially what I do, but I want to take a moment to sort of explain what community science is. Now, you hear a lot about this, you know, whether it's participatory science, community science, you know, even like citizen science. For the most part, it is all, you know, the same, under the same umbrella. But in essence, what community science is is just another form of research that allows pretty much anybody, regardless of their background, the opportunity to contribute to meaningful scientific data that can help further our understanding of scientific research, conservation in general. And yeah, it's really important for understanding key issues. So aside from that, I think it's also a really powerful tool for conservation in general, because it can generate biodiversity data at scales that are intractable by pretty much any other approach, right? So really getting people from all over, especially with the projects that I do that are in California, getting them from all over to participate. We're gathering biodiversity data, a lot faster than anybody else could, which I think is really cool. So community science at CNPS, we've all known that CNPS has had a great history with participatory science, when it comes to like seed collection, rare plant treasure hunts, all of that. However, just recently we have moved to look at community science through a different lens, and really emphasizing the values that make community science, stay true to what community science is, and that is, being community-centered and community-controlled, which, is very important. And, right. So now that I talked about a little bit about community science, I want to talk about the California OakWatch project. Essentially, that's the topic of today's conversation. And the project first came about through a CNPS member. So Frank Landis was in conversation with you, and they really wanted to utilize community science as a way to essentially teach people, but also be able to identify data gaps, and utilize community science to be able to bridge that. As you can see here, it is a collaborative community science project between these four organizations. So San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance, the Mortem Arboretum, CNPS, and then the Global Conservation Consortium of Oaks. Right here, so the California OakWatch project, right? I'm gonna talk a little bit of like essentially what this project is. We all know that supporting oaks is extremely vital, and especially for supporting biodiversity. The project is on iNaturalist, and essentially the goal of this project really is to help map, in particular, young oaks throughout California and the California Floristic Province. It's really important because when you go out and you make an observation, you're actually collecting data. And, this data is telling us exactly where oaks are. And if we're tracking, if we're collecting data on young oaks, we know where they are. We know where those gaps are, and, we can essentially have volunteers go out and collect them, which is why, it's very important to be able to collect this data on both private and public land. So really doing intentional outreach to connect with as many people as possible, and upload as many observations as we can. Right now, I think currently, you can see up here, essentially right here, some of the top participants. So one of the cool things about iNaturalist is that it can track statistics. We have over 23.5 thousand people that have already, uploaded observations onto this project. And, we're really close to 100,000 observations already, which is incredible. And that is not accounting, in terms of the participants, that's not accounting all the amazing people that have helped us with identifying oaks. Because the identification process is also just as important as the observation process. This next slide, this project is on iNaturalist, so I think it's important that I talk a little bit about iNaturalist. Most of you might be familiar with what this is, but essentially our project is on this platform. iNaturalist is a platform that is both an app and a website. It is a global network of, naturalists, conservationists, community members, scientists, that are all working together to contribute to biodiversity data at a global scale. So really cool. And, it achieves this through a set of technological tools that facilitate the recording, sharing, and visualization of data. So very cool app you can utilize to pretty much explore, do a bunch of stuff. And in terms of our project, it's really great because, we're able to, just about anybody can go onto the iNaturalist site, join the project, and then, look at the data, be able to export that. So it's really cool. And, getting started is relatively easy, and I apologize. I didn't notice that when I was making this PowerPoint that like it was going to be bright and then dark. So next time I'll do a better job. But anyways, getting started is really easy. All you have to do first is create an account on iNaturalist. So whether you do that through the website or the phone, it's all the same thing. You look up the project, California OakWatch, and it should be right there. You should be able to join and pretty much get started. Now, I mentioned that there is a website. The website is a little better in my opinion, just because it allows you to pretty much do everything. Through the website, you can easily navigate the entire platform. You can search for, whatever taxa you're interested in. You can, search for projects, search for people, search for communities, places. You can do all of that on the website. And most importantly, there's, a whole identification tab that makes it really easy for you to just like go in and help identify other people's observations. However, I do prefer the mobile app. Just because it's really easy to, take pictures on your phone when you're out and about. You take pictures on your phone and then upload directly from your photo library into the app. So I think that's one thing that's super beneficial for the application, because if I'm out hiking and I make quite a bit of observations that day, whether I want to upload them on the spot, if I do have internet connection, I can do that. Or like if I want to figure out what I'm looking at, I might be able to find suggestions on iNaturalist. And then also, if I take a bunch of pictures, I can upload them all at once from my phone without having to transfer them to my computer and then submit them on there. So that is one benefit of the application. Now, the website and how it works. Like I mentioned, one of the primary ways in which you can get involved with this project is by making observations. And I'll briefly show what this process looks like. And maybe if we do have time, I can actually show you on the website itself. But essentially, it's pretty easy. You go out, you make observations. So if you're out on the trail, maybe you're out on your own property, and you see an oak, especially a young oak, which is, one of the main focus of this project. You take quite a few pictures, as you can see in the middle one. I usually like to take about 4. The more pictures, the better. You go ahead and do that. One of the benefits of having a smartphone now is that whenever you take a picture of something, it automatically saves some of the metadata, which includes 2 really important components. One is the time. The other is the coordinates of the location of where that photo was taken, which are two vital components of making an observation. So time, location, and then obviously the evidence of the organism, which in our case, we want pictures. And yeah, like it's pretty easy, right? Like the phone already records out that information. So all you do is go onto iNaturalist. I went out, as you can see, last July, and I made this observation of this oak. And I uploaded onto iNaturalist, already has the location and the time. And then one of the great things about iNaturalist is that also the AI is able to essentially suggest, depending on, where the observation was taken and what other people have seen in the area, it makes suggestions on, what it thinks it looks like and what others have seen. So as you can see here on the last picture, it's pretty sure that it's an oak. And then it gives me some top suggestions, right? So I know this wasn't black oak. You can go ahead, if I'm not certain, you don't have to put anything. And that's a great thing about it, is that, people from the community will go onto iNaturalist and identify the observation for you. Just like how anyone can make observations, just anybody can also, make identifications. Just to talk a little bit more about the project details and the project requirements, our California OakWatch project essentially has 30 different species that are native to California. And it covers, as you can see, I'll go back to this picture here. It looks a little weird, just because it does cover California. So the boundaries is California and California Holistic Province, which goes a little bit into Oregon and into Baja California. I think I was here. You can find the entire list of every species that we require in order to make the observation onto the project on the project page itself. So like I said, it's 30 of them, and any observation essentially taken within those parameters gets automatically added to the project. So you don't have to like manually add the observation. The only thing is that it does have to be one of those 30 species. So if somebody just identifies it as an oak, it won't get added to the project. However, other people can go in and identify it for you. And if it does happen to be one of the species that we're looking for, it'll get added to the project automatically, which is great, because it's like all you need to do is just take pictures, and then, they'll potentially end up on the project. That is why we encourage identification just as much as observations. These are just some of the things that we look for. We know that oaks are pretty messy. They hybridize, they resprout, depending on, the environment. They also, change to, their environment. So it really is tough to identify, right? I've been working on this project for quite a bit, and I still don't, I'm no expert whatsoever, but that is the great thing about community science, right? Like, you do not have to be an expert, but it's really great because it's like, through this process, you get to learn, and it's amazing to see that. This is some of the things that, we tell people to do. And like, one is, making sure you take good photos. The more photos you take, the better. Because essentially, people are identifying these observations or, confirming your identifications based on photos, right? So other people can't be there physically. So the photos are the best thing. There's a few things that are very helpful whenever you're out and making observations of oaks to consider. And one of them is, like it says here, making sure that you take a picture of the tree, and then, preferably have some sort of thing to scale it with. So taking a picture of the tree and its environment is very important. The next thing, a close-up of the twig, since color is important in identifying for some species. This is probably one of the most important things, is making sure you make a macro level shot of the leaf. So getting a picture of the top side of the leaf, and then the underside is very important, so you can see the trichomes. I use my phone. I don't have a professional camera. I prefer using my phone, and I have like a little magnifying lens that I put on my camera that's able to do a pretty good job. And then additionally, if you do have like one of those loupe, you could put it close up to your camera, and I found out that that works just as well. So it's really helpful for people to identify, especially if it's some sort of hybrid or something that's difficult to identify. Having a close-up picture of the trichomes is helpful. And then I always like using my fingers as a scale, right, if possible. So holding the leaf with my fingers is sometimes helpful. I've seen people actually have rulers and they put them next to their observation, which is great. But, at least for me, if I'm out, on an 8-mile hike or something like that, it's very difficult for me to be, stopping every, every 5 minutes, making sure that I get all that. So this is really efficient. The next thing is, making sure you take a photo of the leaf margins. Take into account like if they're wavy or, if they're pointy or, enrolling, that's always, really helpful. And again, scale is always important if possible. And then the other thing is putting height estimates, right? We do have a observation field as an option whenever you upload an observation. And that's really good because you're able to essentially tag it as, if it's a seedling, a sapling, a mature tree, if it's resprouting or if it's a seed. That's something that you could set as like tree life stage, which is very important. And then, if you do see a seedling, those are often, very difficult to identify. So one of the things that we do ask people to do is, take a picture. Again, scale is always important. So I like this picture here a lot because it shows like somebody with their foot right next to it. So you can see like exactly how big it is. And then, taking a picture of its environment. More than likely, that's always really useful for identifying just because you can see what's around it and, you can check to see if that's possibly one of the acorns that fell. But yeah, so we have a ton of resources. Again, identifying is tough. It's something that I'm still learning myself. So one of the great things about this project and about community science is that we're able to partner and do a lot of intentional outreach, get a lot of experts to help, get people started, especially with identification, right? So we have a lot of really cool resources. This identification guide is really in-depth. It's about 30 pages. It was created by experts, and we have that available on our iNaturalist journal page. I recently also translated this into Spanish. There was a lot of, working with people, there seemed to be a need for Spanish content. So I was able to translate this into Spanish, so that is also available for the public. We've done some tremendous webinars with actual oak experts that know what they're talking about. And those are, really great. I always like to rewatch them to refresh myself, especially, if I haven't gone out in a really long time. And as you can see, we have an OakWatch training webinar, which is really great with about 6 panelists. Andrea Williams also did an oak webinar to, help you get started with oak identifications. That one's a great resource. And then recently we also had a webinar in Spanish. So we partnered with an organization in Baja California that needed Spanish content for oaks. It's a lot different down there. And, there's not a lot of oak resources. So that was one of the big needs. And, we partnered with oak experts down in Mexico. And we were able to do a webinar, which is, you can see down here, Por el Amor de Encinos. And, that was a big hit. We had people from all over Mexico, from California. We had people from like El Salvador, Panama, down in Central America that were interested in oaks and, just wanting to, learn more and get more information. And I think all of these sort of resources are really great in, eliminating some of those barriers, that are, in introduction to, oak identification. So all of these are available on our, project, page. You can go into the, journal and actually, rewatch these. Like I said, we have those oak resources and, all of that available. I can actually, show you real quick, if I escape from this and, hope you can still see. So this is iNaturalist. Oh, you cannot see. Let's see. It's because I closed my window. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. So this is the iNaturalist website. Sorry, I didn't mean to complicate things.
It's okay. It should just pop up. I'm not sure why.
It's not been changed.
I'm just gonna, I'm
Yeah,
it,
go ahead.
plug it back in.
Perfect.
Works like this.
Yeah. Let's see. Like this. Maximize this. There you go. So this is the iNaturalist website. As you can see, I'm logged in. These are my projects. Ton of projects. But this is the California OakWatch project, and it's, if you search it up here, you just type. I can't type. You just type in Cali. Yeah, I cannot type today. You just type in California OakWatch. It should come up. And as you can see, this is the entire project. You can look at the stats. You can even, download observations if you'd like. You can export them. And that's something cool that you can do. But if you go down here into our project journal, most of these journal entries will have the resources. So as you can see, this is the guide. Again, it is a 30-page guide, really in depth. I personally really like this one. And then these are the webinars, and we're always posting new content, whether that's challenges. One of the things that we found is that to really engage youth and other folks, not necessarily incentives, but really rewarding people for their time, right? Because it's like, this is their, time is valuable. They're going out there to collect data for our project. So we like to give back. As you can see, these are some of the shirts that we do give out. I'm wearing one right now. I think they're really cool. So we do challenges all the time, whether that is for like the most observations, the most species. We do like identification challenges to see who can help with more identifications. And we do give those out. So it's really cool. And then I thought, I do have business cards here. If you email me, sometime this week, I'll do a drawing and I can give some of these out. We have pins. I have a few. I didn't expect so many people to be here tonight. For the most part, I've always seen more people on Zoom. I do have some pins. If you'd like one, you can come up and get one. But, this is just a way for us to give back to folks for participating, joining the project, and getting involved. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer some.
Is that what happens? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so
We have a
like,
lot of
Yeah, no,
Reminds me of mine.
yeah, this is exactly what we're looking for. So we're looking for photos, particular, the focus is young oaks. That's what, we'd like to, get photos of, but any sort of oak is always helpful. And, upload those photos onto iNaturalist. Again, if you don't know what type of oak it is, that's okay. Somebody else will help out. And that's like the great thing about, community science in general is that there's always people out there, willing to help, right?
And when you say a young oak, what's your perspective on youth in an oak?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we're mainly looking for like seedlings and saplings. Now, every oak varies, at least for this project, to keep things simple. We usually say anything, below your shins, is like a seedling. Anything below your shoulder, would be like a sapling. And then, yeah, mature trees are really easy to spot.
And how close do you have to be to your photograph? I mean, I'm thinking just in my neighborhood, there's some oaks.
Oh, yeah.
In my neighbor's yard, like, I wouldn't go into their yard, but would you not
Ask them.
something unless you were right at it?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think, for the most part, close up is always, the best. There's a ton of observations of oaks that aren't identified just because people take photos from afar. And, that's why I sort of recommend, take as many pictures as possible, especially close up. That always helps with identifications. And then, that's always a barrier, for community science is that, and especially for like iNaturalist, is that, there is private land and, that is an issue, but, that's why we try to outreach, because there are landowners that are willing to, contribute to, these sort of causes. So if we can get, landowners who have oaks in their yards to, make those identifications themselves, we can help fill those gaps. Up here,
It never hurts to ask.
yeah, that too.
You'd be surprised how many people will help.
Jose, if you wouldn't mind also repeating the questions for the people on the Zoom, that'd be great.
Yeah, thank you.
So I live in a community of 25 landowners, when the parcels range from an acre
Mhm.
all the way up to 125 acres. I would love to be able to reach out to my neighbors, like, because we've organized after the fire for a lot of other things. I mean, how many observations are you looking for? How many?
Yeah, no, fantastic question, right? Like, how many observations are we looking for, especially if you have multiple people, making the same observation? And that is a question that is asked all the time on iNaturalist is, like, do we need to, make an observation of, everything that we see, or like, if you have 100 people, like, are they able to make the same observation? And really that sort of depends on you. Yeah, it just depends on you. It never hurts to add, the same observation more than once onto a project. The great thing is that you can see exactly where those observations are taken. So you can tell which are duplicates. And even if you're like, going on a hike with, somebody else, an observation really is, something that you see. So, if the person, takes the observation and posts it on iNaturalist, you could also put that same observation, so that same picture, onto your profile, because right, so you witnessed it as well, so, that would count. And I also like the part where you said, a lot of you organized, after the fires, that's amazing. We also do have a, project, called the California Firefighters Project, which we look for that sort of stuff. And yeah, I mean, Carl knows he's very, involved in that project as well. So it's great to see people, joining and going out together. So, question here.
I'm assuming that you're looking for observations of naturally occurring oaks, not ones that have been planted.
That is another great question. You know, that we're looking for oaks that are naturally occurring and not something that you know, cultivated or consider yourself. And that is an option on iNaturalist, thankfully. If you, you know, when you do upload something, there is an option to say, you know, whether it's captive or wild. And that is something that's very important. So when you do upload an observation, you want to make sure that, you know, if it is something from you, like that you grew, that you put, you know, that it's captive, not something that's found in the wild. But yeah, for the most part, we do look for, you know, observations of oaks that are found in the wild, at least for this specific project.
Virginia, yeah.
Virginia?
Now, on the third of an acre I live on, there are naturally occurring native oaks, hybrids and natives. They weren't planted by anybody. It's part of an old oak woodland. It's remnants. So those technically aren't captive.
Yeah. No, you're completely right. So naturally occurring, you know, even if it is on your property, it's still naturally occurring. So yeah, those observations are always helpful. And then there was a question on the back.
Yeah, so along that same line, we have had seedlings that come up that we protected. But they were naturally occurring, so you would label those as naturally occurring.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll put the tubes around them and cages, you know, the deer from eating them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's still naturally occurring, right? So yeah, that is a great point. Even if you are protecting it, like it's still naturally occurring. So that's important to Carl.
So, what is the importance of oaks to our flora, and how healthy are our oak populations?
Yeah, fantastic question. Yeah, so Carl asked, you know, what is the importance of oaks to, you know, our environment, and you know, how healthy are they, right? You know, short answer is, you know, oaks are extremely vital to our biodiversity. You know, a lot more than we know. It is something that's extremely important. Especially here in California, right? Like oaks have been around for, you know, a really long time. Yeah. So they've been around forever. And they're extremely important in supporting biodiversity in California. And yeah, they're not doing so well. Unfortunately, you know, I think, I read somewhere that, you know, in California, it's around, actually it's on our bio. You know, in California, it's somewhere around like 2/3 of the population of oaks, you know, aren't doing very well. One third vulnerable in California. So, you know, and nearly half, sorry, 1/3 of oaks are vulnerable, and in California, you know, it jumps to nearly half of them. So it's really, you know, unfortunate that that's, you know, a thing, partly, you know, because of changing climate, anthropogenic changes, all of that, you know, plays a role in the decline of oak populations and health. There's also other things like, you know, beetles and insects that, you know, don't help. And then also, you know, earlier we were talking about ordinances, right? It's unfortunate that these things happen, but it's really important that we sort of, you know, increase and center the voices of people from the community that, you know, really value the importance of oaks. Same thing happened, you know, similar thing is happening where I'm from in Nipomo, where, you know, they're trying to clear you know, oaks that have been there for so many years, right? And trying to clear so many, and it's essentially, you know, the last part, you know, the last piece of, you know, land in Nipomo that can be protected where, you know, oaks reside. So it's really unfortunate, right? And, you know, it's essentially done for for housing, and not the type of housing that, you know, we want, like affordable housing. It's, you know, essentially for, you know, $1 million homes, who can afford that, right? So like, it's not for the right purposes. You know, I think there's the perfect balance between, you know, helping people and the environment. And I think, you know, it's really important now that we, you know, really center our voices and, you know, talk to our representatives to help protect them, because, yeah, they're not doing too great right now. So.
Aren't oak woodlands one of the richest ecosystems in California?
Yeah, they are,
Most
and
diverse.
some of the most diverse, yeah. So it's really unfortunate, but, you know, hopefully with projects like this, you know, we can activate and engage people, you know, in science to help educate, and also to, you know, get them out there, right? So increase access to outdoor spaces, you know, showing them that these places exist, and, you know, you'd be surprised how many people would want to protect them.
I got a question from the Zoom. Is there an intended outcome for the project or any specific end goal?
Yeah, so essentially the goal right now is to be able to collect data. That way we're able to identify where the needs are. So we're able to do that by exporting observations. Now, since I am a project manager, I do have like sensitive information on here for threatened oaks. So I won't show that. But yeah, the goal is to be able to, you know, see where these younger oaks are reproducing and are successful. So the more people we have out there, you know, making observations and, you know, repeatedly observing, you know, the same oaks, you know, we're able to see where there is a need and, you know, potentially take action. I think, you know, this type of information is extremely valuable, especially with like helping, you know, create better management and policy plans. And yeah, that's sort of the end goal. And, you know, aside from the science, I think, you know, it's also important that, you know, a goal of this project is to like make science more accessible. And that's why we do focus a lot on like introduction oak identification classes, you know, and try to focus on that aspect of the project as well.
Oh, in my front yard in Santa Rosa, I have a large heritage oak, agrifolia. Would you not be interested in that?
Oh, yeah, any observation and
But it's captive. There's a retaining wall around the whole root wall.
yeah, no, I think, you know, any, regardless, aside from this project, I think, you know, just being on iNaturalist and, you know, adding observations on there, help tremendously, because you're adding to this database of information. And, you know, there's a ton of other projects. So, you know, I'm going to go to one of my observations recently, right? And so, for example, you know, I'll take this valley oak, right? If I go down, you know, there's multiple projects. So like California Endemic Species Project, and then the California OakWatch. And that's pretty much for any observation. You might not know that a project exists, but when you upload that, you know, you could be helping that project as well. So I think, you know, any observation that you can put on there would be beneficial. Jimmy?
And are people understanding that urban native oaks are just as important as ones in the wild?
Yeah, no, yeah, urban native oaks are just as important, and that is definitely something that we try to highlight, because, you know, there's also the issue of accessibility, right? A lot of these places are, you know, where if you look at the map, right, like a lot of these places are away from the city, but you know, we also try to highlight that, you know, you could participate in community science in your own backyard, right? You don't necessarily need to drive out, you know, 2 hours away. you know, there's biodiversity information all over, and, yeah, with that, you know, there's a ton of campaigns, that happen, especially in collaboration with like iNaturalist, like the City Nature Challenge, right? And that's like a big component of it, right? That urban environment is just as important, and it's really important to be able to collect biodiversity data, there, because you never know what you can find, right? Some of the best observations, have been found by people who didn't know what they were doing, and, you know, they were able to identify something that maybe hasn't appeared in, you know, a few decades, or, you know, first appearances. So, yeah, I think it's very important, question.
Yeah, I'm aware of the NASA tree project. Are you aware of that one?
The NASA tree project,
Yeah.
I'm not a,
That's where they're taking the height of trees and making a record of them. They've been doing it since 2022.
yeah, I was not aware of that, but,
Yeah,
That's-
it's called the NASA Global Tree Challenge.
oh, wow.
And it's about tree height and how you can participate.
Do they also utilize,
Using Google and pictures of it.
that's very
I just
cool.
throw that out because I've been reading.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. Yeah, there's a ton of resources, right? Not just iNaturalist, like you pointed out. You know, iTrees does something very similar where they, look at, you know, you can essentially, take, data of a specific tree and figure out like what the, environmental benefits, and the environmental services are like to the dollar, which I think is pretty cool because, you know, a lot of politicians like to listen to that dollar amount. And, you know, being able to convert, you know, data into that, for example, like how much, you know, pollution does it, you know, remove, you know, one tree remove, and, you know, converting that into, a dollar amount, it's very important. Sorry, what?
What's the name of that project?
iTree? Yeah, it is a platform, on, I think it's by the US Forest Service, which is really neat. I actually utilize that, to look at sort of the data, that Oak Woodland in Nipomo sort of, like the numbers that it pulled, and that was very, you know, helpful to show people like, you know, the benefits of the oaks there, so.
I'm sorry, can I see the other three organizations that are supporting?
Yeah. So they're very great organizations, and, especially the, you know, the Global, Conservation Consortium of Oaks and the Mortem Arboretum have a ton of resources as well on oaks.
Birds deposit a lot of acorns in my pond stuff, and I look to it, and they're viable, so they produce a sprouted acorn.
Mhm.
That's a suitable thing for study.
That is a great photograph. Actually, there's some really cool photos on here, of like wildlife with acorns. And yeah, you could do that, cause it's cool, cause it's like, you know, you can upload the observation of the, or, you know, whatever organism is carrying an acorn, and then, you know, it's like 2 for 1. So,
I noticed one close park, Story Park, there's the woodpecker who stores acorns in a telephone pole. And he's got a real warehouse.
oh, wow, you put in work.
And it's fully outside.
That's awesome. Yeah, so looks like that's it.